Okay, this thing is recording. Alright, so I'm the Mad Monk, and here I am at the apocalyptic ashram, Hawks Haven, in the beautiful Yakima Valley. And this is a construction that we're turning wasteland, because really it's basically wasteland out there. Sagebrush and bunch grasses are the only things that really survive here. And so I've came here and starting to build what I know nature would be doing if we were letting it work. So I learned from the beaver, and I've also learned a lot from what nature has to teach us. So we're so low on the ground here because what we're doing today is we're planting seeds. We're planting seeds of the things that we want to grow in our experience. And my life experience right here, I've learned that there's certain things I like to taste and I like to consume. And one of them is apricots. And so luckily enough, I bought some apricots from a person who had an apricot tree. And so now, my goal today is, because we should always be setting goals, right? My goal today is to plant all of these apricot seeds. But see, apricots, they're not like people. They don't want to live in all one spot. So I get there's 12 of them here. 5, 10, 12. There's 12 seeds here, and so I get to find 12 locations that I'm going to plant seeds. And this is one of them that I'd like to plant a seed because there isn't any other trees growing right here. And this area is receiving water. I'm augmenting areas. We've made a well into the ground and we're pulling water to the surface. Bringing life to land that hasn't had any or has had little for quite some time. So anyway, I'm gonna show you some of the things that you should consider when you're planting your seeds, so that way they have the best chance to grow. Because if we can build a landscape by bringing in trees and planting them, but that tree won't be as strong as one that has grown from a seed in the spot that it was placed. That is what's natural. What's natural is for me to have eaten this fruit and found this little morsel inside of it that was too hard for me to eat. So I got rid of that and I threw it on the ground. And if I threw it on the ground in the right place, a tree grew up and gave me what I liked to eat. And so nature works fantastic when we allow it to work. But so terraces like this would be created by animals finding the shortest route to water and to shelter and to eating areas, and their highway networks through the forest are the path of least resistance. And in that path of least resistance, when it's well traveled, that's where the water is actually going to settle. So in any water that's on this hillside that comes down is going to settle onto that trail and move back and forth across this trail. Well, then the more it's used, the water is going to wear a little bit of a rut into it, and as the animals are traversing over this, because it is the path of least resistance, it's going to be a paved highway, right? In anything natural. So that paved highway is dirt, and people, or the animals that travel that path, don't leave that path very far to poop. They just kind of poop as long where they go. And so along all these trails, there's grasses growing, and there's fertilizer, and there's a flat area that's catching water. And they're usually going down to an area where the beaver heard water running down the hill, And he says, whoa, 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 this is really good stuff if we leave it at the hill. And I like building, lakes and ponds and stuff because I'm an engineer. I'm a hydrological engineer. And that's what the beaver is. He just shows us how to do it naturally. And so he's the reason that creeks will eventually meander, is because he builds a dam to block the creek. And it fills up behind there, but then it starts going out. And so he builds it up, and it works as a wave pattern. It works its way up from the creek bottom, coming up, and then it kind of comes back and forth a little bit. And it's going back and forth, and then it's going to go to wherever the water's trying to go. And he's going to keep building that up to try to hold it to the land. Those become mounds that start to grow, and eventually you're going to come to another hillside, so then it's going to have to meander. It's going to come back, and he's going to just keep working all the way down through a valley, making a stream meander. And we know that the water energy helps to create a meandering effect too. It erodes the outside and deposits on the inside. But the beavers are a big initiator of that process. Nature initiates it, nature continues it, but man destroys it so we can run a road here and we don't have to have a bunch of dams going across it, right? So we straighten out the water so it expedites it from the hillside down into the ocean, through the creeks and rivers. Well, all that water should be getting held to the landscape, so that way we wouldn't have so many fires, and food would be growing everywhere along these beaver dams. Food would be growing because animals would be bringing the foods that they like to eat, huckleberries, blackberries, raspberries, all sorts of great stuff. And they would be making their deposits with their poo, and these things grow. And this is how the Garden of Eden is created, is by learning how nature works and then not screwing it up. Or if we do have to screw it up in the minimal way possible, but then do what we can to help. But we're not doing that right now because that costs money, and we have money to spend on war, but we don't have money to spend on the poor, or fixing landscapes, or creating true sustainability. So anyway, back to the seeds. We're going to put the rest of these in my pocket because I got 11 more of them to go do. But so one of the things that we want to do and we want to consider when we plant seeds is it something we want? Yes. Okay, check. I'm going to put it right up here because I've still got a little bit of work to do to this spot. Is it going to get water? This area, yes, but I'm going to show you in this area because it's just going to be a good demonstration of what we're going to do. So let me show you. I don't have the equipment to really make this a big broadcast for you, but this is what we're dealing with. And I think there should be a apricot tree right there. So put you back down here on the 2x4, pointing towards what I'm doing here. Okay, so is it going to get water? I'm going to try to remember to do it with the sprinkler as often as possible and with a hose. Do I forget? Yes. Do I go on vacation? Yes. Do I just get too busy? Yes. So we want to make it work as effectively as possible planting things. So one thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the area around it slopes towards it, because we're in a really dry area. So if I'm in a dry area, I want the water that comes available to soak in around the plants that I want to see grow, right? And the other thing is to aid that seed in growing. One of the things we want to do is we want to bury it with rocks. And so you want to take, let's open this area up a little bit here real quick. So I've just created almost like a big smiley face here on the hillside. I'm making it to where, oh, and look at that. That is a big chunk of carnelian. That can make a pretty awesome pendant when that's all cleaned up. It's kind of clear. It's like petrified pitch. So we'll save that for later. Cool. I'm only making it bigger because maybe there's another piece of carnelian right here. So you get a chance to do mining, right? You know why they call it mining? Because I just found that, and it's mine. It's mine. Mine. Yeah, so you get a, you know, if you find it, if you do the work, it should be yours, right? That's the way society should work. I mean, if you do the work, you should get a return. Now, somebody shouldn't be able to come and tell you that somebody else can't do something that another person is able to do, because that would seem like, I don't know, like slavery, saying, nope, only for some, not for you. So I'm shading this area down a little bit because this is like a really high content of bark mulch, and I wanted to add some more dirt in there too. Just diversity, you know, everything thrives with a diverse landscape and a humanity. I mean, how boring of a place would it be for everybody if they were just like me? I think it is like an episode of like Twilight Zone or something. But, and then I'm just kind of creating a terrace on each side here. What's that? That's another cool rock. I'll show it to you a little bit. That'll polish up really nicely. Nearly the same size. Alright, so we have a nice, let's just go a little bit more here just because. So this is a process of hugelkultur too. I've been burying sticks and helping the ground hold and absorb more water. And then when that stick is wet, it stays wet and leaches out like a sponge, you know. So, and then it's like a slow release fertilizer that you put into your soil too. And I'm just taking all these rocks and I'm bringing those to the edges of my mound because why do you do that? I don't even know. Because those work as condensation generators, and so just all these little ones are just kind of coming out to the edge. And I'm going to show you here in a little bit how we work with nature, and we can make awesome magical things happen. And so, where are we? Oh my goodness, I covered up that seed. Well, I guess there's going to be one unintentionally planted seed somewhere. Okay. Alright, so then we're going to dig a little hole right here in the middle. Okay. Then, alright, so I don't always have gravel and stuff available. So, you know, when you're planting stuff, it's a good idea to have a pocket full of rocks too. So you take your rocks and you put your seed in the middle of your rocks. And then you take the fine dirt and you cover up a bring you over here so you can see that again. Alright, so we got rocks around here on the edges, the seeds right in the middle, and it's just covered up with some fine sand. Good material to hold water. It's going to hold right next to it. Being surrounded in rocks, what happens is the moisture that comes here in the wintertime, it's going to get in there, it's going to freeze, and that freezing is going to move the rocks around, and it helps to crack the shell, right? So, and then we're just going to put a little bit of material right over the top. And we know that now there is a apricot tree that's going to grow up there someday. So in nature, we have to be patient. And so I could leave it like this right now, or I can say, all right, Mother Nature, I'm gonna need some more meteors thrown in here. Can you help me out? And Mother Nature always responds. And it's amazing how quickly Mother Nature responds. It's like she just says, oh, of course, here you go. That one came from Saturn. That one originated in Uranus. Jupiter. Neptune. Arcturus. A land far, far away.